What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Heroes Veritas podcast. I'm your host, Tim Bass, and today I'm speaking to you from a small 3x3 space in my office. So you're gonna have to bear with me if there's any technical difficulties, echoes, anything like that. I rearranged my office to do this wall right here. It's a soundproof wall. It's supposed to help with the echo. I have the other wall on this side that I have to do, but in order for me to do that, I had to move around the whole office, and I haven't gotten around to setting it back up. So that is why last week didn't have a podcast. I do apologize for that. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to teach you guys a lesson so much. Not that I was really teaching lessons. I was just kind of pontificating how I see things. But today we're going to talk about Heroes Veritas in a much more pie in the sky view, or my personal journey. One of the biggest shifts for me in this whole process, and I've been pretty open with everybody in regards to why I started it. Ultimately, I felt that men had lost backbone, had lost principle, value. They no longer had the strength to do the things that they need to do to be men. And that was received very well, which is a double-edged sword. It's kind of sad because if somebody came to me and was like, "Hey, Tim, you've lost your backbone. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're not a man. You're not a warrior, whatever." I don't know if I'd be able to just be like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." In fact, I know I wouldn't. I'd question it. I'd want to know why. But oddly enough, I came out of the gate going, men are pathetic, men are terrible, men are blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, "Oh, you shouldn't say that. Aren't you afraid of alienating people?" And I said, "No, I'm not afraid of alienating people," to the people that asked that, which were very few. Just because, polarization creates action. But oddly enough, I didn't really alienate anybody. In fact, what happened instead was, in the majority of it, most people were just like, "Yeah, that sounds about right," which I thought was really sad. And then there were men who heard what I said and they went, "Yeah, other men suck." And that was surprising too, to an extent, because it wasn't so much that, they agreed with me that was surprising. It was more that I didn't realize how many people saw it the way I saw it, yet nobody was willing or able or knew how to take a stand or what to do about it. And in January, I set this forth and I was like, I'm going to reclaim masculinity. I'm going to go out and I'm going to make men men again. And it was great. It was great, and everything worked. Everybody liked it. But it started to feel uneasy for me. It started to feel wrong or egotistical or self-centered, or I don't know. There was a lot of things that happened that I didn't really care for internally. And then we get to the camping trip, and I'm all excited because I know what I'm going to say. I know what I'm going to do. I know what value I'm going to add. And it gets canceled. And I was disappointed and upset and pissed at the world. And there's still a lot of that too, because it was ridiculous. But it also showed me the things that I needed. Things I needed to adjust. Things I needed to cultivate and create in order for me to do what I want to do. And then the week after, I started to pivot, and I started to realize the thing that is alienating to most men isn't my ultimate goal, isn't saying that men need to be initiated into manhood. It isn't me saying men need to do better, be better, and think better. It's not me going out and saying, "Here's the problem, here's the solution, this is what I can do for you." That's not what's alienating men. And I read people, I read their body language, I read their response to things. And so I'd say certain things and I'd see their body language shift or adjust or whatever. And at the same point that I was having a sticking point, they were having a sticking point. And that was reclaim masculinity. Now, I adopted this phrase from others who I look up to and respect and believe in what they're doing. And I see why they say the things that they say, and I see why they do the things that they do, but it doesn't align with what I want to do with Heroes. I'm not trying to reclaim masculinity. Masculinity is not something that is lost. And that in itself was the rub. That's what I was alienating men with. It wasn't me saying, hey, you need better skills. It wasn't me saying, hey, you need a better value system. You need a backbone. You need to stop being a coward. You need to be stronger. You need to be more masterful. You need to have better honor systems. None of that stuff alienated anybody. In general and in practicality, like most of the guys that I talk to and most of the women even that I talk to, I'd say that this is what I wanted to do. And they'd go, yeah, 100%. How do we do that? What can I do to be involved? What are you going to do? How do you do this? What do you plan? And I was like, cool, we're making movement. People like what I'm trying to do. But then when I pitched it and I said, my organization, I didn't use organization. I said my men's group. That in itself made everybody kind of go, oh, whoa. That's weird. And I don't blame them because I've been part of a lot of men's groups and I agree. Some of them can be flipping weird. Some of them end up just being, and I've talked about this before, they just end up being another place for men to be women. And that's not what I'm trying to create. So I had to distance myself from the idea of like the men's group, even though it is dedicated towards men and it's trying to connect with men. It's not a men's group. It's an organization whose purpose is to connect with men and develop kings who can build kingdoms with me. And we can then set a sovereign nation together, figuratively speaking, of men who are strong, moral, and capable. So it's not a men's group, it's an organization, it's a community, it's a thought process, it's an ethos, it's a movement, if you would. So I started to distance myself over the last couple of weeks from the idea of like the men's group. And then the other rub that I had to start thinking about was the reclaim masculinity piece. Such an arrogant and bold construct in my mind. And that's where I was having the rub with it. Not saying that I'm not capable of taking men from a pitiful state and putting them in a more strong state or in a better state or giving them the tools and the skills and the thought processes to develop themselves into better men. But reclaiming, right? I talked about this in a number of podcasts, and I think as a society, as a culture, we've stopped realizing that words have weight. And so I start getting into the etymology of words a lot of like, okay, well, what am I really saying when I say what I'm saying, right? If I say something's awesome, what does that really mean? If I say reclamation of masculinity, what am I really saying there? And I started thinking about that, and it's up here, and it's starting to eat away at my confidence. It's starting to eat away at my excitement, my passion for what I'm trying to do, because obviously it's a siphon. It's a doubt point. So I had to correct it. So I went off on this journey of my own, and I started looking at it. And that's why you haven't heard much from me. You haven't seen much on my posts within the system. It's because I'm trying to make sure that the value that I bring to you is aligned with the value I want to bring to you. And that the value that I bring to you is truly valuable as opposed to just putting out content to put content out. So I started looking at the etymology of reclamation. And reclamation infers that it has to be lost. It's been taken, right? Something's been robbed of you. Something's been taken from you. And in reality, masculinity hasn't been robbed of us. We have forfeited it. We have handed it over. We've done so in an effort to get laid. We've done so in an effort to be appeasing. We've done it for careers. We've done it for success. We've done it for a multitude and cornucopia of reasons that all make sense in the moment. So to say that I'm reclaiming masculinity would also infer that it was stolen from us and I'm leading a charge to go and take it back. And that didn't sit right with me because I'm not reclaiming masculinity. In most regards, most men have a general concept or idea of what they believe masculinity is. And therefore that guides their practices to a degree. And that masculinity is typically driven by social and cultural constructs. So I'm not reclaiming masculinity. So what am I doing? Am I redefining it? Am I doing anything with it other than just announcing it? So I had to figure that out. And what I realized is that it's not masculinity that I'm after. Masculinity is a byproduct of what I'm trying to accomplish, right? I said it earlier. I want to make strong, capable, and moral men. Well, to do that, you need masculinity. You need utilitarianism. You need confidence. You need swagger. You need charm. You need you need the ability to be flexible and fluid within the environment we live in. So then I start looking at, okay, what are the things that we want to accomplish as an organization? Because again, I'm no longer a men's group. So what do I want to accomplish as an organization? Well, I want to give men the opportunity to be men. Okay, well, what does that mean? Is it mean reclaiming masculinity? No, it means giving guys shit to do that allows them to cultivate the things, the foundational things that are required that will ultimately lead to masculinity. And so that was the aha. That was the moment where I went, that's what it was. I'm not trying to reclaim a fucking thing. Men know here what they want to look like. They see an archetype of a man and they go, I want to be that man. That's the man that I want to orient myself to. That's the North Star. Great. That's phenomenal. You need a North Star to orient yourself to. I'm merely saying, here's the North Star that I orient myself to, and I think men would be better to orient themselves in such a way. So what does that mean in general? That means that I have to have a bit of an ego and I have to be a little arrogant, but I try and do so with a level of humility to understand I don't know everything, and I invite other men to be on the journey with me. In talking with different people, I like to explain it as this. I'm King Arthur, I'm looking for my round table. King Arthur was a great man. King Arthur as an archetype, as a legend, as a myth, was an amazing person. Same thing with Odysseus, or same thing with James Bond. They all had a team. They had, a lot of times people think of it, oh, he's the hero, but they all had a team. Odysseus had his sailors and his crew. Frodo had the fellowship. You have King Arthur and his knights. You had Leonidas and his 300. They had a squad, a group of people that they went to for counsel. They went to for support. They went to develop and initiate each other. Iron sharpens iron, men sharpen men. Like, that's how that works. So that's what I'm trying to cultivate. Okay, that's cool. So what does that look like? And so I started kind of picking that apart and pulling on the string a little bit further. And I realized that what I'm doing in my podcast is actually monologuing how I would like to see men live their lives. And it's important. And I think that a lot of value comes out of that, but I'm also feeling that there's a little bit of hesitancy to adopting it, because there's a lot of men that feel almost attacked because they aren't doing that, or they don't agree with it. They're like, that's bullshit. I don't need to do that. They don't see the long-term implications. And trying to keep podcasts short and not pulling apart all the nuances, it's very difficult to get across the message that I'm trying to cultivate in the way we live our lives, because there's, I could say X, you need to do this, and that's how you prove yourself a man or whatever. But then in the situation, real world applicability, maybe it doesn't work that way. Maybe there's, it's not as black and white as like people like to tell me, which I disagree. I think we do put a little bit more nuance than we need to. But I can't get those messages across in a 15, 20-minute podcast. And then that creates a vacuum for me in the way of adding value. And that's very hard for me. So what does that mean? Where are we at? Where are we going? What are we trying to do? Okay. So Heroes Veritas is not a men's group. It's an organization dedicated to men and dedicated to helping men be the best version of themselves. We seek perfection, idealism, and the full knowledge that we can never hit the ideal model. We can never reach the ideal or the perfect, but in doing so, attempting to reach it, we become better on the approach, and in turn, we become more fulfilled. That's the goal of the organization. We provide skills and tactics and thought processes and a way of approaching life that is fulfilling and utilitarian. And on top of that, we give you space and a world that you can belong to, of other men sharpening themselves on that same stone that you can come and join, and we can work together to chase that ideal. So then that came to a head with the event, right? I was calling it a men's trip. I was calling it a camping trip. And they were just so laissez-faire. They were so pitiful. I was basically saying, hey, come have a beer with me and hang out. And that's cool. There's a place for that. We should have recreation, but I also want men to understand that in recreation, in play, there is places to learn. There are things to develop. There are things that you can cultivate within yourself in that organization. So then I started thinking, how do I make it bigger now that it got canceled and I have more time? How do I make it bigger? How do I make it better? How do I add more value? So again, going back to the etymology of words, I started going, well, camping trip is very laissez-faire. It's very passive. Okay, so what do we call it? We call it a retreat, right? I see a lot of men's groups do this. We're doing a men's retreat. You're going to come out and you're going to do all this cool stuff and you're going to leave refreshed and amazing, and that's great. But retreat from what? That's the question that kept plaguing my mind when I started calling it a retreat. Retreat from what? From a life that you don't like? From a family you don't want to be around? From a life that makes you more drained than happy? Why am I saying to warriors who want to be the best in their world to run from their life and come to me and it will be all hunky-dory and fun? Maybe I'm overthinking that. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. But that's how I see it. That's how it hits my heart. And I assume that there's other men out there that look at retreats like that too. What is it, a spa day? We doing mud baths? What are we doing here? So what do you call it? Camp? You call it workshop? You call it... I guess it doesn't really matter what you call it, but the bottom line is there needs to be equal parts fun and effectiveness. So moving forward, that is the new direction for Heroes Veritas. And I wanted to come on here because even though I haven't done a podcast the last 2 weeks and kind of redirecting things, and I'll probably do another one next week, maybe like this, maybe different. I wanted to come on and give you guys an update. And the reality is that I'm on this journey with you, and I'm seeking the round table. I'm seeking the men that want to develop themselves into something more and better and live a life of meaning and purpose. And one of the things that really echoes in my heart and in my mind, the reason I called it Heroes Veritas is because I'm taking all of the stories of heroes from a time long since past, which were written and cultivated and created in an effort to provide stories that are both entertaining but give you value as a man, something to strive for, to be a king, to be a hero, to be a superhero, to be a warrior, to be a lover, to be a fighter. These myths and legends, they were developed to give you purpose and direction and give you a value system and a platform. To ultimately, for those chosen, for those initiated, for those that can and understand, when the time comes, be the hero in the story. Be the one who sacrifices for the greater good. Be the one who protects the family from the evil. Be the one that steps up and says no more. And I call it Veritas for truth because in every hero story, there's a level of fiction and extrapolation to the grandiose, to the divine. And I think because of that, many men, many people, many adults look to it and go, oh, that's just fairy tales. Those are just magic. Okay, well, what's true about it? What can we pull from it? What can we talk about that is true? So how do we take the truth from those stories and apply them into a thought process so that men can become heroes in their own life, in the lives of their families, in the lives of their tribes, in the lives of their community, in the lives of the world? How do you become a hero? Because we play video games in an effort to chase that need to be a hero. Every man has that adventurer's heart, that drive to be a hero. But the society that we live in no longer has wolves at the gate, although very soon we may, if you're in the U.S., just seems like everywhere is going to hell in a handbasket. But are we ready? Are you ready? If you're honest with yourself, the wolves are at the gate, whatever that means for you, figuratively, literally. Are you ready? Can you protect the things that are dearest to you? Do you have the skills? Do you have the mindset? Do you have the grit? Do you have the perseverance? Do you have the physical prowess? The endurance? Do you have the emotional endurance? I would hazard to guess most don't. That's why we have to do retreats. because we can't even handle life on the good days because it's boring or whatever. So moving forward, we're going to be an organization. We're not going to be a men's group, but we are going to be dedicated to building better versions of men. We're going to be dedicated to strong, capable, and moral men. We are going to reclaim heroism as a foundation. Because in order to be a hero, you have to have the thought process of a hero. You have to be understanding to certain things, and things have to be cultivated, and they can be cultivated. They don't happen overnight. So that's our goal. And then moving forward, the next event is going to be bigger. It's going to be more utility. It's going to have more skill development. It's going to have more weight, more gravitas. It's not going to be a retreat. It's going to be a calling. It's going to be an expansion. It's going to be an adventure. And I said this before, and everybody, obviously I'm a veteran, so a lot of people are like, just join the military. But you are your own person. You are a sovereign male. You are a man, a king, a sovereign. I don't want to rob that of you. I want to give you the tools to become that even more. And at its core, that's what Heroes was ultimately built to do. It's to build kings among men. Kings don't have to own land. Kings don't have to be rich. The men we revere, we honor, we love are the men that earn our respect. And if you want to be respected, you have to be a man worth respect. I believe that, and you have to lead by example. So we're going to give you those tools. So stepping down off my soapbox, that's where we're at with Heroes Veritas. I don't know exactly what that means. I've had a lot of great conversations. It's been fantastic. I'll keep you guys updated on the new event and anything that happens between now and then. I will be doing another Axes and Nails here soon, locally. At the same time, I'm also trying to figure out how to cultivate a conversation with strangers for both men and women, to have conversations around masculine and feminine energies so that we can start communicating at a level where we can understand each other more. I don't know if that's going to be virtual or in person, but I'm going to try and figure that out. Obviously, virtual has its own hurdles and complications, so it's most likely going to be in person, but I got to figure all that out. And then other than that, just keep an eye on the podcast, the YouTube, the Apple and Spotify. Keep an eye on the Instagram. Make sure to join the mailing list and stay up to date on anything that we come out with. I have another ebook in the works, which I think I mentioned last time. Merchandise. I've had more people than I expected, I'm going to be honest. Really wondering when the merchandise is coming out, because they want to rock the logo. They want to show their support. So that'll be coming out before June for sure. I already have all the stuff that I want to release. I just need to put it up on the website and make sure that it's available to you guys. It's going to be limited runs, so when it's gone, it's gone. So be sure to grab that as soon as it pops. And other than that, I hope you guys are killing it. I hope you guys join us. I really hope that this new direction aligns better with the goal that we have for the world. I've talked about it before. I want to make a micro adjustment to the history of the world. And again, reclaiming masculinity just didn't sit right with me. And so now we're seeking to be better. We're going to build a great world together. And I hope you guys join us for that. And look forward to working with you. So again, if you get value from what we talk about, like, comment, share, subscribe. We'd love to see you guys at any of our events. Also, if you comment, email me, contact me, I'm always open to talk. Would love to add value to you in any way I can. And we'll check you next time on Heroes Veritas. Your spirit